Another fire
Oh, there's
started
another
up.
fire. This is massive. Looks like an atomic bomb.
Look. See it in? Loaded with it. Look at
There's a
it.
lot of gold in there.
Tony Beets spent $800,000 on a brand new wash plant, and it almost sank before it paid off. The ground turned to soup, the machines got stuck, and the whole crew was staring at a shutdown. But when the gold finally hit the scales, it was the biggest cleanup Tony's ever had. Over $800,000 worth in just days. Tune in, because the next scoop they dig might just uncover a secret from 100 years ago. From quicksand to payday, this is the first time all season gold is pouring in from two different wash plants at the same time. One's humming on Paradise Hill, and now this fresh setup is alive at Indian River. On paper, this thing is supposed to move a whole lot more dirt, a whole lot faster, and right out the gate, it's moving smooth. But deep beneath the surface, a hidden flaw threatens to shut it all down before the week's out. Mike heads back up the hill, and now it's Ty Smith, Tony's new guy, behind the loader. His job, keep that plant full. 250 yards an hour. That's what it needs to stay hungry. But hungry turns into a problem real quick. The water's not draining like it should. Everything around the plant is getting swampy. The ground's turning into soup. Chelsea's on the loader now, and every scoop she takes is sinking her deeper. It's like quicksand. The whole wash pad is turning into a trap. Water starts spilling where it shouldn't. Puddles grow into little lakes. She can't see a thing. The loader starts to bog down. Then it happens. Shut down. Not exactly the debut the shiny new plant needed. Tony hears the plant's down. He's not thrilled. He gets eyes on the mess and doesn't waste time pointing out what's going wrong. It's a classic case of too much soft sand, not enough solid base. That mushy stuff can't hold machines, it can't even hold itself. He jumps in the loader himself, starts laying down thick, coarse tailings, builds up a raised road that channels water off to the side straight into the settling pond. It's not fancy, it's not pretty, but it works. Real quick, he's got a new path built, something a loader can drive without sinking halfway to China. That's the fix. Tony gets it done. Now the crew's got a way to get in, grab the tailings, and stay out of the mud. Just like that, the plant's back online. Everything's rolling again. And now that it's up and running, they need to keep it that way. Tony's gamble isn't just back on track, it's gaining ground. But now he wants to make sure everyone's doing things his way. When you drop close to $1 million on something, you don't leave it to chance. You show up, you lay the path, you make it run. Meanwhile, something big's happening. For the first time this year, gold's flowing in from both the hill and the river. That's a big deal. This new plant, whatever they want to call it, is holding its own. And there's the name talk. What do you call this beast? Some go with Sleusatron. Others say Sluimus Prime. Somebody throws out Slew Slot. In the end, doesn't matter what it's called. What matters is what it's doing. They weigh the gold. First up, the new plant. Used to be they were lucky to pull 20 ounces a day off the old system. Now, after just 3 days, the total from the new one is sitting at 84.58 ounces. That's $170,000 worth of proof. Now they weigh the big boy. Mike's trommel up on the hill. Day and night it's been chewing through pay. Bucket after bucket, they pour the gold onto the scale. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, still climbing. 110, 120, 130, 140, 150, 160, 170, 180, 190, 200. Keeps climbing. 210, 220, 230, 240, 250, 260, 270, 280, 290, 300. Still going. 310, 320, 330, 340, 350, 360, 370, 380. Hits the 400 mark, it lands at 401.9 ounces. That's $800,000. Biggest pull of the year so far. This haul didn't fall from the sky. Before any gold came out of the sluice box, that whole wash pad looked like it was about to sink. Chelsea's loader nearly vanished into the slop. Machines can't run when the ground wants to eat them. The sand wasn't just soft, it was dangerous. The loader was spinning, water was going everywhere, and the crew had no way in or out. Shutting it down was the only move, but that came with a cost. Every hour down is gold missed. Tony rolled in and didn't just watch. He climbed into the seat, got dirty, and made that road with his own hands. A thick path made from coarse tailings stretched across the wet mess, letting the water drain off to the sides. No more sinkholes, no more wasted scoops. Once that road was set, the whole site shifted. Now Chelsea and Ty could hit their marks. Every scoop landed where it should, every yard got processed. The wash plant kept running and the gold kept stacking. This new plant came with pressure. The old one used to bring in 20 ounces on a good day. To prove its worth, this one had to bring in at least 60 ounces across 3 days. It cleared that mark with room to breathe. 84.58 ounces in 3 days is nothing to laugh at. That's a solid return. But the real shock came from up top. Mike's trommel didn't just bring gold. It brought a mountain. More than 400 ounces in a single cleanout. $800,000 worth of gold in the tray. That's the kind of result that can flip an entire season. All of a sudden, Tony's $800,000 spin doesn't look wild. It looks like a risk that's starting to pay for itself. Both plants are rolling now, one deep in the mud, one up on the hill. Together, they're pushing out more gold than they've seen all year. Just as the new plant proved itself, Tony looked back at an old pile he'd never forgotten. The old sluice that still gives. Tony Beets was out there chasing gold again, but this time he wasn't messing with new ground. He had his eyes locked on some rough, forgotten piles left behind by miners from nearly 100 years ago. The kind of dirt heaps nobody paid attention to. Most folks would drive by without a second glance. But him? He spotted a chance to pull money from the scraps. Gold prices were way up and fuel was cheap. A perfect combo. Half a mile from where his crew was running their usual wash plant, he found something interesting. Just a boring-looking pile of old gravel and rock to most people, but that pile was sitting just under some busted-up wood, the remains of an old sluice run. Back in the day, miners would build long wooden boxes to wash their gold. They used water and gravity and maybe a prayer or two, hoping some gold would stick. The gear was rough, not much more than boards nailed together and a few rusty tools. Those miners only caught what stayed in the wooden box. The rest, gone with the water, and back then there was so much gold in the dirt that losing half of it didn't even hurt their pockets. But all that leftover gold, still sitting there buried in the junk, that's what he was after. He got Kevin and Monica out there to look it over. He had been eyeing that spot for 35 years. He just never got around to it until now. He wanted to grab a few test buckets and toss them through a small trommel. That machine spins the dirt, washes it, and separates the heavy stuff. They scraped together a small sample. Monica filled up the buckets, tossed them through the trommel, and sent the heavy bits up to the gold room. That's where he got his hands dirty, swirling the black sand around in a pan, looking for those yellow specks. And there they were, little flakes of gold shining in the sunlight. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, they just kept showing up. It was spread all through the sample. Not just one lucky scoop. It was packed in tight. He wasn't jumping around or shouting, but the look in his eyes said enough. This pile was hiding something good. He talked about getting the bigger machine involved, that big wash plant from New Zealand. It had been stripped and was ready to run. He figured 3 or 4 weeks of running, those tailings might turn into something worth writing down. Meanwhile, up at the usual dig site, Mike was pushing dirt with the crew. They were chasing a target. To hit 3,000 ounces for the season, they needed to pull in 177 ounces each week. Mike's cleanup that week brought in about 164 ounces. Not bad. It was worth around $287,000. That was only a few days of digging, too. Now it was time to see how the old tailings did. The team only had 4 hours to run them. A loader broke down and that slowed everything down. But even in that short time, he wanted to know if there was real value hiding in that junk pile. They started the weigh-in. First pan, 0.4 ounces. Next, 0.7. Then 1.6, 2.5. The final total, 4.2 ounces. That added up to about $7,400 from just 4 hours of light work. He did the math quick in his head. That meant 1 ounce of gold for every 100 yards of dirt. For tailings that had been thrown away by old miners, that was solid. He knew he could make a profit even if it was only half that much. Even better, the tailings were doing better than the current dig site up on the hill. That got him thinking about what the rest of that pile might be holding. He figured it was time to bring in the big guns and run the whole thing through the big wash plant. No need for deep cuts or new permits, just scoop, run, and recover. The hill where those tailings sat had a long history. It was one of the first places in the area to see machine-powered mining. Back in the early days, around the gold rush, they used whatever they had: hoses, shovels, buckets, wood. It wasn't fancy, but it worked. And the ground was so full of gold that even their sloppy methods made them rich. The wooden sluice box he found was probably cleaned once a year. That meant a whole season of gold was sitting in there before anyone checked it. And the stuff that washed out, it just slid down the hill, untouched, for decades. He pointed out the boards sticking out of the bank. Those were part of the old water run. The old-timers blasted the hill with hoses and let the water carry the dirt through their wooden chutes. It left behind lines of tailings, those piles of tossed-out rock and gravel. Now he and his crew were digging those same lines. Same hill, different century, with better tools. He wanted to test all the way down the pile, not just the top. Gold tends to move with water, and back then the flow was strong. The good stuff might have settled near the bottom. Kevin agreed. If the top layer looked that good, the deeper stuff could be even better. They prepped the wash plant, set the crew in motion, and lined up the gear. He wasn't planning a full run just yet. First came more tests, a few more samples, a few more hours of running dirt through the trommel. Monica handled the machines like a pro, moving buckets, clearing tailings, and watching the gold settle in the sluice. Even with a short run, they could tell the gold was consistent. Not just one lucky pocket. It was spread across the material. After panning a few more buckets, he called in the rest of the crew. He showed them the gold caught in the pan, dozens of tiny flakes pressed against the black sand. He pointed at it not with excitement, but with that look that said, "Told you." For 35 years, he had walked past that spot, always wondering. Now he knew. The hill had been holding on to treasure, just waiting for someone to come back and dig it up. He figured they'd lose themselves down there for 3 or 4 weeks, maybe more, just scooping, running, and weighing. That old pile, it could change their whole season, maybe even cover the gaps left by bad cuts or slow weeks. They planned to weigh the next batch soon. If it came out strong again, there would be no turning back. The old-timers might have quit digging there in the 1950s, but he was just getting started. While that dirt showed promise, Kevin hit something cold up on the hill. Real cold. The ice that stopped a season. Tony Beets has had a rough start. Nothing's been easy. The dirt's been stubborn, the gear's been acting up, and time's slipping fast. But now something's finally shifting. Not much, but enough. Over on Paradise Hill, the crew's getting back in motion. Mike's hauling steady, Monica's cut is alive again. Kevin, he's still behind, but not for long. He's got his eye on a new spot, just a short hike north of Mike's. Problem is, it's not working like it should. Kevin rolls in early. He's loading trucks, pushing piles, peeling back the top crust. Then the machine hits something weird, hard, solid, not dirt. He jumps out. It's frost, thick white frozen solid. Not just a bit, it's a deep layer. This isn't just cold topsoil, this is permafrost. Been frozen since before anyone was born, and that kind of ground doesn't budge. You can't cut through it easy, and if you wait for it to melt, you might as well shut down the whole season. Too slow, too expensive. Kevin calls in the boss. The old miner steps in, looks around, and shakes his head. It's bad news. Can't burn through ice. That'll wreck the machines. Only thing to do now is test the land, dig some small holes and hope to find ground that's not frozen. They drag in the digger and start checking behind the tree line. First hole, frozen. Second, same thing. Kevin moves about 200 feet over, takes another shot, and there it is. Soft ground, darker dirt, damp. It's thawed. That's pay dirt. Now they're going wider, hole after hole, still thawed. One of them shows a layer 40 feet deep full of gravel. That's what they want. Thick stuff that holds gold, and it keeps showing up. Mike jumps in, he checks the edges, pokes around, same good dirt. Looks like they've got a decent patch here, right next to the frozen junk. Kevin starts thinking big. If his thawed ground links up with Mike's, they can clear one massive stretch across the whole hill. Scrape off the top, dig out the pay layer, make a mega cut. But they've got to move fast before anything shifts or the fire risk gets worse. The experienced prospector is walking the lines now, watching, measuring. He sees it coming together. Kevin on one end, Mike on the other. Meet in the middle. One giant cut full of gold-bearing gravel. Kevin's got it good. Only needs to dig a few feet down and he's already in the good stuff. It's dry, not frozen and smooth. That saves a pile of time. Just when things start looking better, the skies go bad. Fires, thick smoke, flames in the trees. It's been dry too long. Winds are picking up, the whole Yukon's on edge. One bad day and everything stops. But the crew stays sharp. The old-timer doesn't flinch. That pay layer could be 500 feet wide. Some spots run 40 feet deep, and it's clean. Not a lot of junk mixed in, just heavy gravel packed tight. They want to cut out 700 square feet if they can. Kevin takes one side, Mike handles the other. Monica keeps her plant running, 3 sides feeding gold into the same pile. They didn't plan for this. Not with the slow start and all the setbacks, but now the land is finally giving something back. The gear is running, the trucks are lined up, pay dirt's coming in fast. The gravel looks perfect, smooth, even. No clay pockets, just layers of clean pay. Enough to keep machines running for weeks. Monica stays steady. Her cut isn't big, but it's reliable. One bucket at a time. That's how the gold adds up. Kevin tests another corner, more thawed ground, same rich color, no frost. Every hole he digs proves this patch goes wide. Could be a full layer. The crew's not stopping. Bulldozers keep peeling back the top. Dirt flies, trucks fill up, they're close now. Just need to link both ends. The mega cut is almost real. A few more days, a few more loads. Then the whole hill opens up. Nobody's slowing down. Machines are moving, ground's breaking, gold's coming up, everything's finally working. The ground's giving up gold, but at what cost? Is this worth it? Leave a comment and subscribe.